Okay, so let's get started. Yeah, we're already 4 or 5 minutes over time. So I'm gonna have a PDF of this entire thing at the end of this little session. And afterwards, you're more than welcome to kind of stay and talk about like Solidity or whatever it is that you want to like work on. This is like also a workstation. Um, but let me give you a workshop first on how to do the BEP process. So just sit back and relax and let me show you what's going on. All right. So, okay. So essentially, um, the reason why BEPs matter is because you need to at least kind of develop an idea further, but you can't do it alone. So it's really good to do it with other people. And so when we're in the idea phase, the best way to kind of share your idea and to get it out there, especially within BNB, is by using two major resources. And those two major resources where I got a lot of feedback from was the forum. So over here, it's forum.bnbchain.org. You may have not heard of this. If you have, great. But when you're on this page, you should go to all categories and then scroll to BEPs. And then here you can see like all of the stuff that's happening across the whole ecosystem. And inside of here, as you can see, people have said, hey, like let's change the actual proposal process. Then there's like the one that I made this week, which was the proof of the effective majority stake. And I'm still waiting for feedback, right? So you can reply to the feedback, you can share it, bookmark it, watch it, whatever you want to do. So log in here so you can get all of your updates. And this is the fastest way as a developer to kind of get in touch with other developers in BNB. Straightforward. It's super easy. And if you're not getting any feedback, what else do you do? Just go to the BNB Discord and post your idea several times, at least once a day, to see who's going to be interested in listening about it. And also go to the BNB Telegram. So that's how you get your idea out first. So how do you craft an idea for a Binance improvement proposal? So when you want to create a new topic, so I'm following my little cheat sheet here, but what I would do here on the right, let me show you my face again. I'm going to go to new topic. And once I do this, I can scroll up and I can say, BEP, and I don't know the name yet because you won't know the BEP until you actually create the pull request, which is after, of course, you fork the repository on GitHub. So all the improvement happens on GitHub, but you start your idea here on the forum. This is probably the best way of starting it. And so you would craft your idea, and your idea has to go through several stages. But the most important, when you're filling in your idea here, you have to think about like whether or not it's one or three things. The first thing is like, is it a standard change? Is it an informational change? Or is it like a change to the process of how BNB works? So what's a standard change, right? So a standard change is when you're describing literally functional changes on the BNB chain. So how does something work on a baseline? So the primitives that are involved with maybe the way that the network protocol sends messages, or how proposals in an election process, what are those mechanisms behind that functionality? And you have to kind of figure out, where is it happening? Where are those functions happening? Similar to when you're writing a smart contract, you're finding out which interfaces are you going to work with, right? And then changing some sort of logic. You make an improvement proposal because you've discovered a better way of doing something. And you should, really contribute, because if you can fix something, that's going to give you a lot of personal reputation within the ecosystem. They're going to commit, and once you commit, you're going to be able to apply your application logic in the way that you're looking to do so. So if there's something that doesn't work that you need to work, then you can create an improvement proposal if you know how to find your problem. So that's a standard, right? With an informational proposal, it's not as in depth. This is more of like clarifying concepts within BNB itself, right? It's not going to probably affect anything on the BNB chain or the way that the client is implemented or any of that. It's just describing a particular process so that people can build better and perhaps make a standard Binance improvement proposal, right? And so what I was doing this week is that I've made an informational one. It was called Poems originally. I can show you here. So what I was doing is I created one where I wanted to describe how I think that the consensus should change. And so I described in detail how that could be done and, you know, what are some key topics that I wanted to introduce to the foundation and say, hey, you know, these are cool consensus algorithms. We should consider doing something very similar. I'm looking for feedback for X, Y, and Z mechanics so I can develop a standard process or an improvement proposal, right? So I wanted to put out the information in saying, hey, this is the information, the research that I found, and I'm looking for feedback, right? And so I can show you the example. Right here I said the Poems proposal is this thing. It would allow DAOs to, what I want the functionality to be, I want to allow DAOs to authorize you know, contracts or veto contracts. They're not producing blocks, but they're just, you know, vetoing certain contracts if they're really harmful to the network. So I need some feedback from the validators and the way that we can possibly do DAO economics. If you read into it, it talks about delegated liquidity, which is its own little separate mechanic. So I need some help in that one area. The second area would be the implementation and the design. You know, so some professional engineers can come up to the board and say, okay, hey, let's create a design. And so this is the back and forth feedback. And why would you want to implement something like this? And I said, okay, I'm needing some feedback because I'm designing this proposal process to avoid organized crime, right? So I have my, what do I need? How do I want to visualize it, right? And I need, and I'm putting out my reason, my why, right? So I have my what, my how, my why. And so before those three things happen, I think I can get much closer to the standard process. And there I can actually make some forcible or unforceable change to the ecosystem, which is always a goal. It's the same thing happened with non-fungible tokens and all the ERC standards that have some place on Ethereum. We have the same process here at BNB. So that's important to know. And the last one is the process. So this kind of process, well, the proposal's process, the whole idea is that it changes the workflow of BNB and how their work processes work. So, for example, I think this one is a work process. This, let's see. I think I just clicked on it, but upgrade to chain or like, yeah, doesn't, you know, some don't specifically say, yeah, anyway, there was one that said, hey, we should just think about changing the way that we do BEPs. Just the way that like anybody permits, the authorization or the putting it on standby process, right? And I'll show you that in a second. So, you know, that's just a process. So there are processes and how we do workflows with the entire world. So if you're a person who really thinks clearly about how to organize organizations that are decentralized, the Process BEP would be for you, while the informational one might be for a researcher, you know, or any sort of like enthusiast of the chain itself. And a standard would be really great for an engineer. And they should be very small standard implementations, not like giant overreaching ones like an informational one could be. But it's still best. The best practice for a BEP is to break it into small chunks. And that was the feedback that I received for mine, which was to break it into small chunks. Then I can start thinking about how to make several BEPs for the standards that I want to start implementing. And then maybe I can, all sorts of opportunities can exist when you have a BEP that is accepted by the foundation. For example, the one that's coming out or that's really being talked about is the BEP idea for adjusting validator self-stake amount within the BNB smart chain. So over 200 people are talking about this and lots of conversation. And so they want to move from 10,000 to 2,000 BNB. I mean, why not? I think making it cheaper is always a better idea, but that's just my opinion. And so there might need to be a process in how the BEP for this sort of BEP should be managed. And that's why you would make a process BEP. Is it starting to make sense? I hope so. And I hope that clears it up. So a BEP is really flexible and with whatever it is that it is, right? And I think people who want to create BEPs should probably create them with a DAO. You know, like the Avengers DAO on BNB is a security DAO, so you should probably go to them if you have a security implementation. You can get really good haptic feedback from those contributors. Okay, so that's just my advice. Anyway, so with ensuring that your idea is going to be implemented, you have to be okay with receiving feedback, is basically my end note on that one. So how do you do it? Like, how do you make one? Okay, so if we go to BNB Chain's, like, you know, main GitHub, we're going to just go and head over to repositories, and we're going to just literally type in BEP. Oop. And if we go here, I've already done this, so I might not do it again. I can explain it to you how it will work. Actually, I could probably do it again. I've already cloned this. So what I'm going to do is show you what you would do, right? And if you're not already an engineer, this is going to be new news to you. So that's why I'm doing this video, because most researchers aren't familiar with GitHub. And maybe a lot of people want to figure out how to change the ecosystem, and they're not familiar with this. So part of this workshop is understanding, what is GitHub? Like, why are we doing this on GitHub? GitHub is a really great way of like doing control flow within the open source with a lot of contributors. As you can see, like over 50 contributors have contributed to the BEPs. And if we go to pull requests, these are the way that you actually name the BEP. So if that's trivia to you, you know, the reason why NFT was called ERC 721 for an NFT, it's because it was the 721st pull request inside of the repo for EIP, right? So we call ours BEP, which stands for Binance or BNB Evolution Proposal. Okay, so it's an interesting process with how open source contributions work, and this is how you contribute. And it's very important. If it hasn't clicked already, this is an extremely important thing to do. So there's pull requests that are still standing, like mine's still standing, and there's all the other ones. And so if you want to get yours out here, yours will just be kind of sitting in limbo, and that's called something. So when you're trying to get a BEP passed, if we go to number one, BEP number one is a living BEP that can constantly get updated. And that's what this diagram is here for. It's a living, let me zoom in for you. So you, again, like you start with the idea, you draft the idea, you post it on the forum, and then once you draft it, it becomes a BEP. So when you create the pull request, which I'll show you how, it's either living, which means that it's always used, basically, or that it's stagnant, which means that it's just nothing is happening, or that basically it's withdrawn, which means that it's either removed or completely just foregone. Is not going to be enabled in any way, shape, or form, needs to go back to the pre-drafting stage, which will probably happen to mine. Not going to lie. But that's only because I need to take a closer look at the ingenuity of my draft. So it's fine if you go to the pre-draft stage. Just make a new BEP and then name it whatever the BEP is at that point. Okay? Yeah, so the next thing is the actual drafting, okay? So when you're drafting it, it's pretty straightforward, but you're gonna have to use Markdown. So let me show you a tool that's really helpful for actually drafting a proposal. And this is really good for creating technical documentation in general. So if you're not already familiar with HackMD, I would highly recommend using it. And the reason why is because everything that you write on the screen is Markdown. And then all you have to do is basically, copy and paste it into your proposal. So I didn't write mine here. I have an example of like a React tutorial that I wrote. And so here on the left side, I have Markdown. Here on the right side is what it looks like once I'm done. So I write it in Markdown and then it translates over here. And this is exactly how it'll look on GitHub. Okay. And so as you can see, it's really fast and easy for me to create technical documentation directly to the GitHub pages that I am committing on GitHub. So highly recommend using this tool and taking a look at my React tutorial if you don't know how to use React and a smart contract. Okay, so I hope that clears that up. Let me see if there's any questions. HackMD. Yep. So that's HackMD. If you've never heard of it, voila. It's amazing. It's an amazing tool. It saves me like so much time and effort. Cool. I don't see any questions, so I'll just continue. I hope you guys are understanding the process. It shouldn't be like that hard. But the reason why you do a BEP again is that if you're a developer or you're a team and there's an implementation that you think you can uniquely solve, it's probably an improvement proposal to the open source. Okay. So you should not only just think about Ethereum, like the same things can happen on BNB as well as a lot of other layer ones, but BNB is very unique because it's using the proof of stake authority. And so that's not the same as proof of stake, obviously. And so there could be ways of improving the proposal to fix authoritarianism, if you want to think about it like that. So I hope that makes sense too. You should think about, the consensus that your applications are being built under as really like the overall governance of how your stuff will run. So if there's a mechanism that you don't necessarily agree with and you think it's going to benefit the majority of the public, then you should write an improvement proposal, whether it's a process of how something is done with the people, or if it's informational so that concepts are cleared up, or if it's a standard so you're actually fixing the chain. And then at that point, there's lots of funding that will be behind you, especially if people agree. There's some major ones like MEV implementations for obviously getting rid of MEV, and lots of other things that come down to how validators sign blocks and so on. Okay. The whole goal is to further decentralize BNB. That's our goal. So write proposals so we can continuously do that because it's really fast and cheap. We want to get to 100 validators. How are we going to do that? Please write a proposal, right? If you have the answer, you're probably going to get a lot of funding to, write that answer. So that's my speculation, because that's how most of this works. Foundations will fully support ideas that are strong in terms of their ingenuity. Anyway, I'll get off the high horse. You can either take that or leave that. Now, if you're going to write the proposal, this is what it looks like. Let me show you what mine looks like. So if I go, so let me show you how to do it first, actually. Go to BEPs. Then you go to fork. And then you would name it the same. You don't need to change it. And you would create the fork. Okay. I'm not going to do it. So then what happens is that you would check your repositories. I have it right here. Okay. Yippee-ki-yay. I go to code. I copy the code. This is the branch that I'm under. I'm under the master branch. It doesn't matter. I can show you how to make new branches. And so I copied this. This is going to copy this entire repo. And as you can see, when I created my BEP, I created a new branch and committed my version as a pull request, which I'll show you how to do. So I'm going to go to terminal. Since I haven't done it on this desktop yet, I'm basically just going to, hit git pull and then the link. And then I'm going to, it says that it's not a Git repository. What? Hold on. Let me refresh this. Okay. Let me try that one more time. I can also just download the zip. Okay. And then I can show in the Finder and I can open this and then there we go. I have it. Okay. That's one way of doing it. I can just, again, copy this, go to my terminal. And then I'm going to CD into my desktop. And then I would just do git pull and pull http lotta dash git. And it's saying that it's not a Git repository. It is. This worked on my laptop. Most likely is because I'm not committing it directly. I don't also have Git enabled on my desktop, so I'm not even logged in. I don't even have Git on this desktop. This is a new desktop. So if you're going to want to do it in that way, you're going to need to set up Git in your, as a global, command line tool. Okay. So if you're not familiar with Git, okay, you go to Git, and you can say git install. It's probably going to show up. And then if you need to install it, this is how you install it for Linux, for Mac, and so on. Okay. And then there's only a few commands that you're going to need to know. The first command is obviously pull. And so anytime I'm pulling, I'm literally getting it from the repository. Okay. And so when I have it, so I'm going to open this up in, where's my Visual Studio? So I have the Git master right here, the BEPs. I'm going to open up an IDE, and then I have all the BEPs here. So now I want to make my own. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just create a new file, which is how I can create a new folder, or I can just literally stay inside of the BEPs and not create a new folder. It doesn't matter how you do it. So I'm going to create a new one and say BEP. I don't know what the number is yet because I haven't made the pull request. So I'm just going to say .md and I'll just change it later. Right. And once I'm done with hackmd, I would just copy and paste my code here. And by code, I mean my proposal. And so I can say, this is a new proposal. Okay, great. Now, if I do control tilde, That's a shortcut. I can just do terminal and open a new terminal in my code window. And so I'm on the master branch, okay? And it says it right here that BEP is master, right? Now I need to get init first and initialize my repository. And now that I am synced, as you can see, it synced it automatically. So I'm enabling Git. And once I do this, I have made a new proposal. So I called it BEP. I should probably call it something else. I should probably call it like BEP like test. Okay. Control save. And then I'm going to do git stage. So there's 3 steps. So you stage it, and then you commit it, and then you push it. So you pulled it, and then you stage it, and then you commit it. Like you're acting, you go on stage, and then you act, and then once you're done, you push. Okay? So it's a good analogy if you don't know how to use Git. Anyway, so Git, now I'm going to say git stage, and actually I'm going to run Fig. So here's another really cool tool is Fig, okay? Fig, if you haven't already understood what this is, it's a CLI helper tool. So it'll give you a lot of commands off the bat so it can make your life a lot easier when working in the terminal. It's kind of like an, it's sort of like a interface for your command line. Okay, so now that I have it open, look at this. So anytime I say git, it just comes up with a lot of like commands right there. So that's open source. It doesn't cost you anything. You can download it for free. It's called FIG, Fig. Let me give you the link. Fig terminal. Yep. And then here it is. Highly recommend using this. Let me give this to you. It's very helpful. No, say the sequence again. That was so good. Oh, let me give you the sequence again. Okay. So the sequence is this. So that's Fig. Anyway, so the sequence is, one more time, is you're going to pull, and then you're going to stage, and then you're going to commit, and then you're going to push. Okay. That's the sequence of order. That's how you do everything with GitHub. And then that's just everything. That's how you do GitHub. Okay. It's very easy. And if you want to think about it like a theater actor, it's like, you're getting the role, and then you have to pull, okay? Like you're getting a script, and then now I have the script and I need to go on stage with the script, and then I gotta commit, I gotta start acting, and then I push myself off the stage once I'm done, okay? I don't know how else to put it. So I have git and Fig, initialized. So I'm going to say git stage, and I only did one thing, right? I only made one change, and I'm going to stage this commitment. But first, before I start getting all of this, I said I was going to change my branch. So I'm going to actually make a new branch because I don't want to change the master branch. I want to change just what I want to change specifically for what I'm doing. I don't want to change the whole repository. I want to just make a side repository, like a branch of it, a fork of it, a fork of a fork. And then I can say, make this change to the master branch if you guys accept my new branch, right? That's why I showed you before. I showed you that I had other branches. Let me show you again if you forgot. So here, when I go to my BEPs, I have BEP poems. So I was specifically making an entirely new branch, which is an exact copy of the master branch in another branch, which is, I made a new file. And if I go to master, you'll see the difference. If I go to master, I don't see BEP poems or 218 or anything. which is the one I was looking for. If I go to BEP poems and I scroll down, I am blind and I'm not seeing it. Hold on. Where is it? Hello? It's right here. 5 days ago, right? So then I click on that, and that's a part of this branch. Okay? And that's where you can see my thing. Anyway, so I don't want to be on the master branch. I don't even want to be on the poems branch, which is the new. I want to make a third one. Okay? So so what I would do is, let's go back to my IDE, and I would say, all right, git, and I'm going to check it. Oh, let me fix my camera. Git checkout. And then it shows me right here with Fig. It's really nice. But I can do checkout, and it says branch, file, tag, or commitment. I'm going to do a branch. So I'm just going to do -B, which means a new branch. And then I would say, I'm going to call this branch testing BEP. Okay. So I'm just going to say BEP testing or something. Now I've switched to the new branch, and I can check what I'm on by saying git status. And it says nothing added to the commit, but untracked files present git add to add the track. So as you can see, nothing is staged, nothing is committed, nothing. Okay. So then what I would do is I would stage my changes, my edits. So I would do that once I'm done writing my file. So I'm like, okay, yay, I'm done. Okay, I'm done. Now I want to save this and stage those commitments. So I would say git stage, and specifically I would choose my test. I didn't change anything in the entire folder structure, so I'm just going to change my test file, which was bep.test.md. Okay, so that's it. I'm just going to stage that. Okay, it staged it. Now I'm going to commit it. So I'm going to say git commit and then -m for a message. And I'm going to say, how did I change this file? So I'm going to do double quotations, and in it I'm just say I made a new BEP that changes the test environment for XYZ. Okay, it doesn't matter what you say, but like be really explicit with what you're doing. It's the best convention. And I would just do that. It created the mode, and now I want to actually push it to GitHub. So I would do that by saying git, and then I would say git push. All right. And now I would say all. Okay. And then I'm going to say testing if I want to push it all. But that's if I was connected. Okay. I'm going to do origin instead. Origin means, where did this repository come from? Well, it came from BEP, right? I literally copied and pasted it from BNB Chain and BEPs, and I made a new branch. Now I'm going to do git push BEP testing. And once I do this, it says, again, because I haven't logged in with my credentials, but it says origin does not appear to be a Git repository, could not read from remote. Okay, because I don't have the right or the accessibility rights to BNB Chain. So, I mean, so what I would do is do it to my own repository. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do git pull, and like I did before, I'm going to pull from my repository, which is BNB Dylan's BEP, right? And I'm just going to pull this, or at least attempt to. And if it doesn't work, there's going to be some reasons, but it did it. So it sees that I'm ahead of the branch and that I need to like commit all the branches, but it basically pulled in everything that I had in my repository. into this repository. So you have divergent branches that need to specify how to reconcile them because I have the other branch, right? I can either choose to merge the branches or not. I can replace everything, which I have the option to, which I'm not. So anyway, that's how you get the entire repo. And if I do, again, git checkout branch, or like I can do -- branch, then I can see which branch I'm on, or sorry, git checkout -b. And it says which branch do you want to go to. So git, again, checkout -b. And I'm already on the BNB test one, so I want to do like master or other branches, but I can specifically choose which one that I want to go to. So I can do BEP testing, which is the one that I'm on, or I can go back to master branch. So that's because I was pulling it from my or from BNB Chain. If I had done this with my particular GitHub, this would be different. Okay. But anyway, the last thing is git push origin, and then you would push to your particular branch. So in my case, it would be BEP testing. Okay, that's it. That's all you do. And then you would commit all the files and then yada bing, bada boom. So now that I have pulled from my particular repo, we're all good here. And I would push the commitments to GitHub, and then I would see my files change in real time here. Before I started this workshop, I didn't take any time to of course, download Git, but that is the standard process. And what you're going to need to do to log into Git using your credentials on your local desktop or whatever, your laptop or something, you're going to go to settings, and then you're going to go to developer settings at the bottom. And then you would basically just do personal access tokens. And then you would click on these tokens. And then, see, I did a tutorial, so I made a new personal access token. I'm going to generate a new token and get that. And then log in using those credentials in Git on my terminal. Okay, so this is how you log in through Git to connect your local repository that I'm doing on my laptop or my desktop to your GitHub. So that's how you get those authentication tokens. And if you don't have one, you have to generate a new token. And it's easy. All you do is just log in with those credentials. And if you don't know how to log in with those credentials, I advise you to look up how to install Git with access token on desktop online. You can easily figure it out. It's very, very straightforward. Anyway, yeah, that's basically it. So now that I'm done, let me show you what I would do if I were to be done. So now if I go back, this is the last step. So this is how you commit a BEP. Thank you for sticking around this whole time. The last thing you would do is once your code is fulfilled and your new branch is in here and you see your new commit. Okay, great. I would just go to the pull requests, and I would create a new pull request and see how this says base repository is the BNB chain and the BNBs, and you want to commit it to the master branch. Yeah, I want to commit it to the master branch so that they can see it. I can commit it to any other branch if I want to, but I'm not. I would do it to the master branch initially until they created a new branch for this proposal. And I'm gonna point it at my repository, and then I'm gonna compare it with this branch, right? because not the master branch, that's theirs. That's already a copy of theirs. I'm going to use it with my branch. And then I would view the pull request and see, I've already done it. So I'm going to go and view it. And this is what it looks like. So what I'm about to commit, it gives me a number here. And that's how I know what BEP it is. And then once I commit it, all I got to do is just edit and then just change this from BEP to BEP 218 and then just hit save. And that's it. And then, so I have, this is looking for feedback. So now I wait for feedback. I share it amongst the community and I get people to read the pull request and the .md file, which is from this branch. And then they go to 218 and they click on this one and then they can read it. And that's it. And then people can make comments. You know, they can pull my, they can fork my BEP and fork it on theirs and request to change my BEP. That people can do that, right? And that's how the whole process evolves. Okay. So, the last thing is that you want to generate a very small description of what your proposal is on the forum. So if I go back to it and I created a new topic, now that I've posted it, that's cool. I can tell the whole world about it and I can say BEP, and I would do this again under BEP, under the categorization titles, and then do whatever tag that I'm trying to fix. And then write my small 1-paragraph description. And I can say this is a test BEP. Highlight this, and then I can add a URL to this repository. And I can just do copy paste. Oops. Paste it right here. And then there it would show up here. If I created the topic, people would see this is a test BEP, and then they could read my BEP. Okay, so I'm going to close that. I'm not going to do that. So I hope that gave you a lot of insight. Again, there's hackmd.io and there's fig.io that's going to help you write the proposal and then manage your Git commits. And if you don't have Git, install Git. And if you don't have Git connected to your GitHub, get an authentication token and look into how to do that. This isn't like a Git workshop, even though it kind of seemed like it was. But this is how you do a BNB process. And once you do it once, not only are you going to be really familiar with basically how GitHub works, but in general, it's going to show you how to be a part of the ecosystem. So I hope that helps. Thank you so much. And if you guys have any questions, thanks for sticking around. This was a cool workshop. Let me put this over to the side and see what you guys are up to. If anyone wants to come up on stage and talk about something, I'm open to it. I have 10 more minutes. Git, pull, GitHub. Yeah, stage, commit, push. That's how you do it. Thanks. Zoom and the screen share probably would have to close the chat, minimize speaker list if you're on a smaller screen. Yeah. Hoping it's being recorded. It is. So this session is recorded. And then next week, what I want to do is how to manage your dependencies and your files and writing smart contracts with other smart contracts on the BNB blockchain. So what I'm going to do next week is show you how to look at other smart contracts on the Block Explorer, and then using Remix or another IDE, how to take in those things, look at transaction blocks and hashes, and then using other contracts interfaces. And then what you're going to be able to do is write a new contract that's going to interact with already existing contracts, so that you can build your own, I don't know, your own DApp or your own DAO or your own DEX or your own whatever it is that you want. If you want to get a head start on that, let me give you a link so that you can see what I'm going to do next week. It's under my repos, and I'm working on an NFT minter tutorial also, but there's BNB Chain tutorials on the BNB GitHub, and I'm committing projects to that. So if there's any particular project that you want to see me build, just make a request. And I'll try to figure it out. One of the ones were this one. So I created a React application. It's a step-by-step guide on how to start a React app from scratch. And as you go through it, can you still see my screen? Yeah. So as you go through it, what's going to happen is that you're going to fix some bugs that I've already made ahead of time. You're going to copy the code and write it yourself. And then you're going to try to do a challenge, which is to just swap some tokens and do whatever it is that I'm asking for. But I gave you all the contracts that you're going to need to look at, and in exact order too. So if you just click on this, you're going to see that if you want to see the add cake contract, you're going to just go to the contract and then see, okay, is it what contract? It's this contract. And then you're going to have to figure out how to use this contract. So next week, I'm going to show you how to do that. And I hope it helps. And the whole goal is that we're going to try to give to charity. The idea is that we're going to fork this. We're going to star this on BNB, and then we're going to create a pull request, just like how we did today with the BEP process. So you should try to do a BEP just to get used to using Git and writing something really small and trying it for yourself, as we did today. And then you're going to do the same thing here, where you're giving forever. So I want to swap some test BNB, enable BNB and some pancake tokens. And then I want to pair those two tokens to create a liquidity pool. And then I want to harvest the pool tokens, and then automatically send those tokens to charity. And so I found the BNB charity wallet address, funny enough. So if you go to Binance Charity, you're going to see that there's a charity wallet. And if you try to click donate now, it's going to ask you for your email. And I was like, that's dumb. So it'd be better if I just like sent it directly to the wallet rather than having to like send my email and everything. So I gave you that address too. So that's pending. That'll be next week. Yeah. So anyway, yay, I'm done. Do you have any questions? I've recorded this whole session. It was 1 hour. And I'll keep trying to make better tutorials or sessions, tech talks. Just give me some good suggestions. We have a few more minutes. So what is it that you guys would like to learn? And I'll try to do my best to do that for you. Thank you for making, no worries. Thank you for coming. And invite all of your friends so that we can create a community. That'd be cool. That'd be really cool. Because I don't think BNB has a DAO, really. I think BNB has like a few things going in the US, but not too many things. Especially in South America. We're trying to start DAOs. We're trying to start new communities. Let's build a DAO. Screw it. I mean, developer DAO. Let's make it that. And we'll make tutorials for BNB at first, and then it'll be cool. Can you share my GitHub? My GitHub? Oh, yeah, sure. Where is my GitHub? My GitHub. Where is it? Hold on. GitHub. Can you share my GitHub? Yeah. Hold on. There you go. Okay. Yeah, you can see in my GitHub, you can see that I've worked on a couple of things. I've worked on like Battleship Royale on Leo, which is like a zero knowledge proof language. I worked on some like tutorials for Rust to like serialize JSON strings and whatever, because we wanted to create NFTs in Rust, which is not easy. So you got to take JSON and then turn it into Rust. So you use Saturday. There's a tutorial on how to do that. Yeah, we want to make I want to make at least 15 tutorials in the next few months. So the only way I can keep making them is if we get support. So I'm kind of guessing at this point on what kind of tutorials we want to build. So I need help. Just suggestions, basically. That's all I need. Yeah. Maybe something with random numbers. You're kind of thinking more of like, building with smart contracts, probably, right? So how do you generate a random seed or a random generator or whatever? That'd be cool. We could do some Solidity stuff. We do have a Solidity bootcamp coming though, so I kind of wait. I will wait for that. I'll show you how to do file management with Solidity and working with a Solidity project though. Next week I'll do that with you guys. But if you want to start learning how to build, random stuff, we'll probably do that in a bootcamp. Exciting. You'll spam me. Okay, thanks, bro. It'd be interesting in contracts for voting and how to weight in different voting powers. Interesting. So you want to do voting by weights. I would take a look at Substrate if you want to learn how weights and voting work. Look up Parity Technologies or Polkadot, because that's how the consensus works, I think, in Substrate. It works using weights. So that's a good reference if you want to go and look at how weighting works, weights work. Go look at Substrate, how their governance work, and then build it in Solidity. That would be dope. Let's start to build a community DAO. Random numbers do not exist in Solidity. You need an oracle. Interesting. I didn't know that. So you need an oracle to create random numbers. That's kind of dumb. Or you can, here's one solution. This is what I did in Golang. You can create a random number in Go, and then you can commit that input using a proxy contract that's connected to your contract. And all it's doing is that it's expecting an input. And you don't reveal where the input is coming from, so you can secure your code base. And if you're gonna do an input to another contract using external devices, you should think about like securing that as best as you can, because external inputs could be flooded, like buffer overflows or all these other problems. So be careful if you're doing off-chain to on-chain computations with random numbers. But that's typically how it's done, especially with like off-chain modules and zero knowledge proofs. And Chainlink is expensive, and so is all the other oracles. That's why lotteries use VRF, or yeah, Chainlink oracles. It's VRF. I think it's verifiable random functions. Yes, but you can think for yourself to have your own oracle. Yeah, you could. You could technically set up your own oracle. It's not easy though. Obviously. Any more questions? I think there are no questions. If you guys want to do like a Solidity workshop next week, just say yes. Like Solidity next week. Is that what we want to do? Sounds like it. Do a Solidity, BNB Solidity tutorial. How to work with contracts on BNB. Testnet. That'd be cool. You contract will emit an event. It will rest that event. Generate a random number, call back your contract. That's a very specific process, but yeah, that's so. If you don't understand what that means, when in a smart contract, you can do something called an emit function. Well, it's not a function, but it's an emit sequence, and you have events that happen in the contract, and you can emit a response or a message on chain. And Node.js can basically look at this contract and wait to see when this emission happens. And if the emission happens, it can then generate a random number inside of your server. And then your contract can, call back that random seed and read the seed that's on the server. But again, that's still an off-chain module. So you have to secure the input. If you're doing off-chain Oracle anything, you really need to secure your inputs, because what if something is sitting in the middle and your random number isn't so random? Is just for you to play. Yeah, that's, I think, the solution, right? Cool. All right. Thanks, guys, for being in here. Today is the last day of Ramadan. So who's breaking their fast today? If you are, have a good day. Kabash, thanks for just joining in an hour after we started. You'll see our recording. So this was chill. I'd love to get more people up here. Cool. We'll do a quick two second. What would you like to say? Nobody? Okay. Anyway, I'll leave it there. See you, man. Yeah, thanks for coming. I'll do a Solidity workshop next week. Week number 2. Expect that this is going to come out on somebody's YouTube. And yeah, so peace in the Middle East and the rest of the world. I'll talk to y'all later. And yeah, happy fasting. All right. Goodbye. Cheers. Uploading soon. All right. Cheers.